Good morning. Excuse me. There's my wake up hiccup. I was just laying in bed. I don't really sleep all the time. You already know that if you're paying attention to these videos. I got a hyperactive mind, and even if I drink, the old whiskey there, it's sometimes a hard press, a hard go. But I feel like I'm doing a different personality. Oh man. Of all the impressions and people I've been around, sometimes it's hard to remember who I am at times. Since I'm crazy and I continue to do these videos, to an unspecified audience of 24 people. You know, yeah, I don't even know who all 24 of them are. Um, Whatever. Besides, like looking at my day ahead and, adding to this James Webb scene, um, thinking if I should do some workout today with kettlebells. It's very gray and wet outside. And around this time of year, I would much prefer to be on my bicycle. And I've done that a couple of times. And that's really what I want to make this little blurb about here. Um, because what's the description about the bicycle? It's one of the purest forms of human transport ever invented. And I have to agree with that, especially lifelong love for the bicycle. And, I'm not going to get into the history or anything along those lines, or, all the different countries that use them as their primary transport for everybody, or like, livable cities, 15-minute cities, that sort of mumbo jumbo sustainability bullshit. Because it's just so hard to adapt a city that is already laid in stone and cobble work, and I'm wearing my tournament shirt here. To give obviously there's a connection between bicycles and aviation with the Wright brothers. And, I worked and learned how to work on bicycles before I learned to work on cars or even aircraft. I built my first bicycle with my two friends from the local area when we still lived in Westmount. I'm still friends with them now. I do keep friends for life if I can. I'm not antisocial, unlike other people's judgments might come to the fore. I try to keep friends for life. Now, all things considered, obviously the childhood story of learning how to ride a bike, and I learned with a BMX bike. It was yellow. It had flies on it. I don't remember where it came from. I remember it had a coaster brake and, training wheels one at a time. And then learning how to skid around a gravel road in circles and circles, and then onto a stupid. I was, my dad thought it was perfect or whatever, but he gave me a larger bicycle with wagon wheels, plastic composite, 5 or 6 spoke, whatever it was, with plastic tires of all things. Yeah, those actually existed at one point in time. And our family, well, naturally, having grown up in a different era, we were on our bicycles frequently. So my siblings and I and my father all over the place, because that's the way he lived in Toronto. He didn't have a car until much later in life, and as it falls with a lot of other people, cars are luxuries in a lot of places. And unlike my mother, whose father was a mechanic, for GM, the dealership, so there was always cars around in that family, and in my grandmother and so forth, my mother's mother, but not with my father. You see a different stratification of class, really, since my mother's family came from Britain and my father's family came from PEI, right? Different class of people altogether, and that being said, my father, he had a Dawes, a green Dawes road bike, which is British made, a steel frame, and he rode that everywhere. He still has it, and I've ridden it frequently myself. Much to my chagrin, I was not happy about it because I don't like road bikes. I just don't. Yeah. So, you want to talk about mountain bikes or anything close to that? Starting to learn to ride off road. My eldest sister first bought a Mongoose. I think it was from Canadian Tire, Mongoose, right? An orange one, no less, with blue lettering. It was a hardtail with a cheapo sprung fork and grip shifts with a 1-inch steer tube, right? So I didn't care about it at the time, and it didn't make much of a difference at the time. It was, what you see is what you get, with a threaded, a threaded bearing on the steering, or threaded headset rather. That's the word. Yeah. And like so many other people in their teenage years, right? Bicycle is, until you're 16, the best form of transport. If the bus is just too much, right? And I would much encourage people. I'm always an advocate for spaces and separate avenues, separate paths for bicycles, the separate bike highways, like the Copenhagen model. To be honest with you, because I've been close to being hit on a bike, and I've actually been tossed off, which was partially my own fault, in Toronto on the way back from a Starbucks, on my Giant, and it resulted in an injury. And I didn't blame the person. It's just the fact that there was a hedge and the nose of their truck poked out, and I had my hand on the wrong brake, and I tossed myself off. And I administered my own physiotherapy and KT tape that is able to keep my kneecap in place and the rotator and whatnot, and just keep on going. Because I have first aid training. What the fuck do I need the freaking hospital for? Oh man, just one of the litany of soft tissue injuries and stuff like that I've had that are not documented because, well, I have first aid training. I could be a combat medic quite easily. If I learned how to do IVs and whatnot, then I'm not that far away. Honestly, really not. And then thinking about like bushcraft first aid, stuff like that. What can I say? A wealth of information. Well, survival first aid. That's it. Yeah. Now, I enjoyed that mongoose as well as much as my sister, because I was getting large enough to ride it around. And started riding trails here in London. Uh, and a lot of trails are blazed, right, by mountain bikers, and also by equestrian riders, the horse riders. And people don't really give them credit, or didn't give us credit. It was very rebellious in my younger years to establish a trail network, or to build jumps and along those lines. Almost an iconic old school childhood, right? Much more physically active than kids are now, which is unfortunate. But that's only because of my perception. That's not the reality. Going further with this, my first real mountain bike I bought with money that I earned from summer courses and a paper route. Doing Penny Saver, where family did that. We delivered Penny Saver, did the collating and everything from grade school through high school, before giving it up and then working at Wonderland Gardens as a dishwasher in the banquet hall. So like, yeah, it was a Norco Atomic, right? And this would have been like 2002 and 2001. And I looked up to, or admired, a fellow classmate, schoolmate that lived close by. This is all in a small proximity of Jesse Davidson Park here in London, that had an Atomic. It was very similar, but I bought a different year. And this will freak people out, because this is, of course, the era of the origins of Pink Bike. And my first bike I bought from Vancouver Island. Again, a silver Atomic with junior tees. And as soon as I got it, one side grip shift, the other one, this Shimano Dior or something like that, click shift, lever shift, which is, it was absolutely amazing. It was amazing the stupid things I would get into, the age of drop machine and hucking, right? Excuse me. So what can I say from that? You're just trying to drive, just ride our bikes all over the city, however, whenever, because you didn't have anything else to do, right? After my summer course was done, I didn't always have work. You just play video games, make models, go for a bike ride, take the dog out. It's still very much a lone wolf kind of person, because as I explained in other videos, I have not always been socially accepted. That's just what happens to people who are, completely blown out the window. I sold that bike, and after taking it apart, and then I started saving up, and again, money from course payments through cadets. So this would have been after like ITLC or ITAC, so ground school. Excuse me. These were 3-week programs, and for someone that young, it was a sizable amount of money. Is $1,500 or whatever it was, or a little bit less. Something else that I would not have been able to afford otherwise. So then I started building a bike with my two buddies, the brothers. a few blocks away, because they were deep into it, right? They were always working. Their parents were always hard on them to make their own money and to wheel and deal and trade and barter their way into something better, use parts, whatever. And I was always hanging out at Two Wheels downtown, after school at CCH, walk down from the school after, say, band practice or track and field, or cross country practice, right? And then sitting there, we had a bit of a hangout upstairs. It was new, it was cool. These big bikes, right, of the era. And, again, first being introduced to some of the characters around here. I'm gonna fart again. Sorry. It's just that protein powder. And what can I, this is a tangent, but I remember, the first mountain bike that I ever saw, and it was in a shop here downtown London, that doesn't exist anymore. It was a building that used to exist before it was leveled at the Boys and Girls Club, if I remember correctly, somewhere around there near Labatt's. There was a bike shop, and it was like Da Vinci Chili Pepper. It was a full suspension, and I think it was a Chili Pepper, but I'm not 100% on that. Went in there with my dad, and then also like the journeys to the cycle path and whatnot. And then there used to be another bike store here. It's by the courthouse, and it's not there anymore. It closed up shop, and that's where one of the brothers happened to work at one point in time. But the second bike that I ever built up was a Norco A-Line, 2004. It was black. I took that thing to, got into some adventures. It exploded a wheel off of, it was a 10-foot drop over here in Meadowlily. It was, and survived. Just the fact that it was a very narrow huck over, and trees on both sides. So the fact that it didn't hug a tree at that time was absolutely amazing. So give me a second here. Oh no, never mind. It's just the freaking coffee moving through. Sorry, too much TMI. And you asked me how I first learned to throw a bike off of anything. It was at Saunders here, and there's underground parts underneath the gym or whatever it is, the auditorium, and it's basically a transition and a flat, these big steps, and you learn how to manage the bike going over large drops, like log drops, right, on a downhill course. And then there used to be two stair sets on the south side of different numbers, right? And it was like an 8 set and a 10 set. So basically a drop the flat of about say like 8 foot is 6 to 8 feet, something like that. For a full set of stairs. And these bikes were built differently. They were tanks, right? You're talking about the era of Bender and the first inception of the Red Bull Rampage, where it was just throw yourself off this cliff and see if you survive. Don't worry about the tricks or anything like that. And then what happened was that bike, I had it for a while. Obviously, I learned how to, because of the brothers, I learned how to set a headset, learned how to deal with the Diablo's cranks, the X-type bottom brackets, how to set up how to bleed brakes, how to deal with the cable and the adjustment, the slack, the pitch, and the draw, right, or like the drag, so to speak, and then the shifting, getting that perfect with the chain line, the number of chains, chain links, for the size, setting up the guide, and because they had all the tools, right, they were well known for that. And lace my own wheels, right? And there's obviously a lesson learned in tensioning after dropping off of that platform in Meadowlily and surviving, exploding the wheel because it wasn't properly tensioned, right? Just and it was the rear, right? So I got off really lucky in that instance, honestly. And let's see. I've taken that bike to Blue Mountain at least once, and then I arranged with another local, because there was a gang of us, right? And it was a particular era where everyone was the same age and we all had disposable income. And it was very trendy to get a mountain bike, like a teenage status symbol, and as a status, sorry, a symbol of rebellion against cars, because I didn't really ever want to get my driver's license, because just out of spite, really, I was like, why would I get a car when I have a bicycle? Why would I do that? Excuse me, sorry. Yeah, why would I do that? I would just ride everywhere. Why not? I never felt like I would ever leave London. I never felt the need for it. Never came into my head for many years. Everything that I wanted to do, I was going to join the military. Well, they're going to put me on a bus, so fuck it, right? Like, I don't give a shit. That was the mentality at the time, and actually that bike, the Norco A-Line, again, it was all black. It was like a stealth bomber. Got stolen out of my parents' house, the garage on Gardenville there, out of the side door that broke through. And it followed me, and from what I remember, because I remember divulging a little too much information to some people at the skate park at Wolseley Barracks, that they more than likely, followed me home at some point, and then scoped the place out and then stole it. The day before I had set up to go to Blue Mountain with another mountain biker for a weekend, supported by my mother. Because as a rebellious one, I didn't want a freaking driver's license or a vehicle. It's just like, why would I need that? I'm not getting any girls. Fuck it. Yeah. And thankfully it was covered under the house insurance. I was able to get 2 bicycles back for the same value, because of what I sunk about $4,000 into that bicycle. And again, that was a lot of money for a young man, because it was all brand new parts, or close to brand new parts, with the Marzocchi 888 RCs. It was an Elka fifth element shock. We're talking about 8 inches front and rear travel on this bike. You know, the E13, the XO. I still have the XO tin up here. Well, it was an X9 at first, and then I changed it up. And well, we're talking about like artifacts here, obviously. Uh, excuse me. And you know, I had interactions. When did that bike get stolen out of the house? It's like 2006, somewhere along those lines, something like that. Yeah, because I had the new bikes in university, and yeah, because the bikes that I had in university was a Kamena Cell, Team DH, and a Planet X Ghost. But well, I actually I bought the Ghost before going to university, and I had, you know, it got stolen as well. The two bikes got stolen out of the garage because I used some of my OSAP, admittedly, or it was a bank loan. Because it got approved for OSAP and then a bank loan at the same time, which, you know, put me behind the eight ball for a long term. You know, hindsight 2020, but like I give a shit now. You know, debt is debt at this point. You know, that's another story entirely. Geez Louise, if we're gonna just ramble on about bikes here, you know. Again, I had to come in sell Team DH, and I got involved with people in Peterborough with the Psychopath, you know, because of, you know, Drop Machine and Pink Bike. You know, this is all grassroots organization, and then like getting involved with Ontario Cup downhill racing here. I still have some of my placards, naturally. You should never throw these things out. You know, and I was very intimidated by other people that had, you know, closer geographical access to Kelso or to Blue Mountain. And like, you know, I was decent, right? I wouldn't necessarily take on Black Diamonds because, you know, obviously a little bit timid, but I still did my race runs, right? And one of my famous incidences was a crash at where is it? It was in Quebec, east of Ottawa. I'm trying to remember the name. It was the only Quebec venue in the O-Cup circuit. It wasn't Calbogie. It was anyways, it's slipping my mind right now. So anyone that's listening and watching actually gives a shit about this stuff. Oh goodness. Anyways, I was riding the Kamena Cell, and I didn't walk the route. I was very nervous. And you know, there was this drop over the ledge onto a wooden transition, and I went down hard. Right, I didn't land correctly, and hit this end of the head. Obviously, you know, going over the bars, wearing a helmet naturally, but you know, it sheared. You know, I picked myself up, and I was like, did the old limb check and everything just to see if everything was okay. It was a significant drop, you know, and I was not afraid of that because, well, I'd done drops to flat in preparation many times, and you know, they're just trying to push myself a bit further. It was Camp Fortune. That's it. Camp Fortune, and yeah. Let's see. the rest of that story is that, well, I picked myself up, and the top of the reservoir was a Shimano Saint, right? It runs on mineral oil, and completely and utterly void, because the plastic cap had been sheared off in the crash, and I didn't have a front brake. I was like, I went for the front brake, and it was entirely gone. I was like, oh shit, right? This is terrible. But you'd rather have the front brake go in that instance instead of the rear, because the rear is for control. Front is to slow you down. And I was able to complete the race run. I don't remember what the time was, but I was very paranoid about concussion, and the following night. So I didn't really sleep that well, and obviously went through trying to measure out if I was having any brain damage, or any signs of hemorrhaging, something along those lines. Again, me being an arrogant person and relying on my first aid training from St. John's, which I'd taken multiple times by that point, obviously I'm okay. I'm still here to tell the tale. I haven't had bails like that ever since, because at a certain point, I moved on and didn't have a bike for many years. It's very depressing. In between, because I sold them, we just couldn't afford to keep them. And the ghost cracked, and I sold all the parts. I didn't have any money. And this was in between 2007 and 2009. No, 2000 actually. I didn't have another bike until 2013. Yeah, somewhere around there. Very depressing. Very depressing. When I think about it, it's just the way it was, and just didn't have any money. Where was I going to get the money for another bike, right? I don't remember exactly when I had to get rid of the Ghost, but it's all. I have all these pictures, right? What's a Bike on Pink Bike. If you're ever interested, you can see me with a picture like that in my house McDougall or whatever it was, by the police station, close to the police station, and the barracks in Peterborough. Excuse me. I kept that helmet for a long time as a memento, but obviously you don't keep something like that after such an impact. Like, you smash it up and you throw it away so that someone else doesn't get tempted to use it. Now, I had a Giant Rain for many years, but during COVID I had to sell it in order to fund my, it was a 2010 Giant Rain. And, again, I had to sell it because of financial constraints, and my body man painter was on me to make payment for my Bug Eye project. And so I did that, and I bought that bike from Two Wheels, and it was my prized possession for a very long time. My friends through the Don Valley multiple times, like 45K bike rides in a day, taking it on the subway. And I bought it with money that I earned at MHI, and I brought it at times into the factory, just to make sure that it wouldn't get stolen, because all I had was my Mazda B2200, right? I couldn't secure it, and I wanted to go to Kelso or whatever immediately after work. That was just my life at the time. And again, I sold it to a young man. I took it to Oakville, real estate agent. It was his father, I guess, something along those lines. I still have the emails just to keep track of it because I might want it back one day. Because you think about how 26 isn't dead, in my opinion. It's always going to be around, and if I'm going to get into marketing, that's another video. So we'll just give it a second here. Fuck it, since I'm just trying to make anything entertaining at this point, and maybe this is into the mind of a psycho. I don't know what the fuck to think of myself anymore, because of this age of questioning identities. And if we're going to give this context, it's completely insufferable. The fact that I even have more comfort talking to the internet, than I do strangers. Any kind of real conversation is emblematic of our era, and how much things have changed since the message board days, and a bit of mystery of meeting strangers. A bit of risky behavior almost, but always been an adrenaline junkie of sorts. It was just part of the fun. You just didn't always know what you were getting into. You didn't always know, group rides. You didn't always know who you were riding with, and that was a part of meeting new people and making friends and just living. And how much different it is now in comparison. For convenience sake, everything we've done for convenience sort of make things easier. And this is why, as a classic mountain biker, and I grew up in the era of these, of like Free Will Burning, New World Disorder, Rome, etc. These from the magazines like MBA, Decline, and other publications, that for which I'm not mentioning. Sorry. That we've given up a lot. We've given up a lot for convenience sake. And I've ridden 27.5, I've ridden 29er, and I don't like them. I really don't, because they don't make things easier. A lot of these trails were built with excuse me, a bit of indigestion. We're built with 26-inch wheels in mind, and they, the trailblazers didn't ever think about there being 27.5s or like wagon wheels or road bike wheels for the matter on these trails. And there's always been this this clash between the board shorts and the Lycra crowd, because there wasn't always mountain bike specific clothing and fashion. A lot of this, if you look into a lot of the culture and terminology, free ride, whatever, was ripped off from snowboarding, skiing, and surfing. Right, all of these rebellious, extreme. We're talking about the era of X Games here. Hobbies or sports, because they are sports. They're definitely athletic, right? This is here I am, a lifelong athlete, right? Without a sponsorship, without any kind of support, and without much motivation other than just to have a good time. I could ride with the best of them if I was challenged. Could I compete on a world stage? Absolutely, I think so. I have the confidence now and the skill. I know that I could probably do it. There's a lot of risk involved, say for like UCI, cross country or enduro, but that's more or less my disciplines. And this is again why I do this fitness stuff, right? Like because you need the upper body and the core strength in order to not be injured and have the twitch reflex, in order to have any kind of survivability, just in case some person comes at you. You know, you got to be able to swing the bike out of the way, because you're going the opposite way at Fanshawe. Oh man, that was a big dude. He was scared shitless. Yeah, the twitch reflex, you know, is you know, obviously learned and taken from you know, my downhill and free ride. You know, I'm glossing over a lot of details here for brevity's sake, and because, you know, I'd rather keep the conversation interesting. And you know, I'm going to tag a couple of companies here, Canadian content, and then my profile will put that for Pink Bike for accessibility, so you nobody's looking around too much. You know, my life with mountain bikes is not going to end. I would rather have a mountain bike than I would a girlfriend. Because, you know, as long as I maintain, you know, this is the difference. And, you know, I will value my future wife, my next girlfriend. Not that I didn't of any of my previous ones, but that's the reality of it, is that a bike is the most reliable form of transport that humanity has ever come up with. And there's no denying it. There isn't. As much as I love airplanes, as much as I love cars, a bike is it, right? For all of the weather, you know, because I've ridden a bike in all 4 seasons, and I've ridden a bike in multiple Quebec winters and Peterborough winter. You know, I'm not a fair weather rider. I never will be. I just, with the way that the ground is here, you can't ride because of the saturation and because of the trampling and the drainage over here in the ponds. It's quite annoying, actually. I want to take a chainsaw to some of the fallen brush in there, and you know, maybe put some culverts or a gully in there in the lowest spots, just to help things along, because, you know, we just keep on stomping on the same ground, and annoyances being annoyances. And then, you know, obviously in the Paradise Lost video, I showed you the local jump trail that is still there. But I'm not going to do that with my current bike, which is a Turner Flux of a nondescript year that I built up basically over COVID, because I was getting tired of pushing around the rain, the giant rain, because, you know, it is 32, 34 pounds, and it's more, you know, it was more a downhill enduro type vehicle instead of you know, a cross country or down country burner, which is what I've arranged the Turner to be, or adapted it to be, with a 1x10 drivetrain. You know, simplicity's sake and everything. You know, I just hope that you find this bit, you know, and this bite interesting, and that I can develop a deeper relationship with, you know, either the manufacturers or the engineers that have given me such joy and such you know, empowerment in my own life, because that's what we should do as engineers, and that's what we should do for each other as people, is that we should empower each other. We should enable each other to do for positivity or positive outlets, right? If we're going to account for mental health and, you know, the endorphins associated with physical exercise, because, you know, when the body breaks, there ain't much left. So I'd rather ride until I'm broken than sit on a couch. Thanks for watching.